Hello and welcome to a new episode of Experiencing Infdev Plus. It has been quite a while since the last episode, and so quite a lot of things have changed in this mod. And in this episode I would like to explore at least some of them. However, before we get to the newest version, I would like to start with a bit of an older version. I'm currently in version 1.0.33. That's because I would like to get some unobtainable items in this version. Now, the first unobtainable items that I would like to get involve changes to durability. The first item is the ice ring. The ice ring had 1024 durability in this version, but has been made unbreakable in a more recent version. And the second item is the Damascus shield, which used to have 512 durability, but in the most recent version it has got 256 durability. Now, turning these items into unobtainable items is rather simple. All I need to do is to use them until their remaining durability is lesser than their future durability, which is simple for the ice ring since it's unbreakable until future, which means that it has got sort of no durability. So I just need to use it a bit, and then I will be fine. I believe that should be enough. I've only consumed 21 points of durability, but it will be more than enough. Well, that's strange. I was just heading to one of the old cathedrals that I had conquered some time ago to take care of the shield, when I had noticed that there is something wrong with it. And also, as you can see on the top, there is the boss health bar, which is quite strange since the boss should be already defeated. However, for some reason it's here right now. So I feel like the chunks might have been reset, because as you can see, this part of the cathedral is lower and it's missing the sort of locked chest, which means that it's sort of an old chunk. But over here this floor is higher, which means that it must be like a new chunk, which is quite peculiar. But I think it should be fine. I don't remember having anything of value in these chunks, so I'm going to make use of this opportunity by equipping this shield to get it to be damaged, so that it has got less than 256 remaining durability, and I'm going to fight these pigmen while doing so. At least I'll get some extra key this way. Thankfully, defeating the boss wasn't too hard thanks to all of the beacon effects that I have, and I've also managed to damage the Damascus shield enough. Anyway, as you can see, the reset chunks also have a airship inside of them, and there's also the tower dungeon, the harbor dungeon, which I had already conquered, which has been split in half. I was thinking of using like a backup to restore these chunks, however I don't think it's really necessary, as these chunks aren't really all that important. Plus, it's nice that this happened since I got some nice stuff from it. Anyways, does this have anything? No, so I'm gonna just go home. And now I'd like to move on to the next thing, which involves enchanting. More specifically, version 1.0.33 introduced enchantment stacking, so you could have like higher level of enchantments on various items. This has been sort of removed since, so you can't sort of stack enchantments. However, I can since I'm in an older version, so I'm going to use it to my advantage to enchant the Sword of Michael, the Quantum Annihilator, some adamantine armor, and a diamond hoe, because funny. The actual reason why I'm enchanting a diamond hoe, why I'm staking the enchantments on top of it, is to sort of get an unobtainable item which I keep inside of a chest. And I decided it would be a hoe because funny. And lastly, I've got a crossbow, because in this version, if I enchant a crossbow with the power scroll, I get a power 5 crossbow, which later on for some reason turns into protection 5, which means that I'll have an unobtainable item. As it turns out, I didn't have quite enough points to finish all of the enchanting, so I'm currently killing some pigmen to get some more points. And while killing them, I've noticed something strange in the statistics, which is that for some reason the statistics say that I've killed 1762 Pegasus, which is quite strange because I definitely haven't killed that many. So I guess my statistics are kind of broken, but that's probably because, well, I'm in quite an old world. So maybe it's because of that. But anyway, I'm going to now kill some more pigmen to get some more points. And then finish the enchanting. And now I am done. I must say there was quite a lot of enchanting and it took quite a lot of points to do this. I believe it was about 140,000 points to do all of this. But now all of my gear is fully enchanted, as you can see. I'd say that you could call this armor sort of god armor, kind of like the god armor in vanilla, because like in certain versions people could like enchant their diamond armor with, I believe, protection, fire protection, blast protection, and projectile protection, which are normally mutually exclusive, but in some version you could apply all of them on one piece of armor. So this armor is kind of like that, since I'm not supposed to have that in the newest versions. But anyway, now that I've done that, it is time to move on to the last unobtainable thing which I want to get. And to get this unobtainable item, I had to update to version 1.0.35_02 and grab myself a paladin sword and some rocks. I've grabbed myself a stack of rocks +1 because I'd like to get as much of this item as possible. And to get this item you simply need to place a rock down and break it with a paladin sword, because it gives you the rock as a block. Now this, I believe this bug is introduced in 1.0.35_02 specifically, but I'm using this version because I know it's in this version. And now that I've collected all of these rocks, there is one thing that I like to do with these, because you see normally when you place down a rock, it gets colored based on the sort of biome that you are in. So most of these rocks that I've placed down are kind of grey. However, for some reason this sort of spot has got a different colored rocks, because it has got like a different biome. Not sure what biome it is, because it still shows us the same biome, but I don't like that this rock is differently colored, so I'm going to use the rock block to replace it, because if you place the rock block, it doesn't get colored with, thanks to the biome. But yeah, that's all of the unobtainable items that I wanted to collect. So now I'm going to update to the newest version and store them in my storage space for the unobtainable items. And now I am in the newest version, and seems like I was wrong about the crossbow, or rather did something wrong with the crossbow, because I remember obtaining a protection 5 crossbow in my hardcore series. However, in this it didn't happen, and instead it still has power 5, so I guess I did something wrong. I think the thing that I did wrong was sort of enchanting it in the wrong version. I think if I did it in like one of the 1.0.32 version, it would have gone well. It would have been successful, but it wasn't for me. But anyway, now I'm going to put all of these items into these unobtainable chests. As you can see, the ice ring and the Damascus shield have got like these weird durability bars. And also one thing that I didn't mention is that the Damascus shield now has got a different ability. So previously it was like teleporting, but now it's like pairing, which I'm going to show a bit later. Now I'm just going to put away all of the items and like write down about them in this book that I have got, where I like write down where I have like the list of all the unobtainable items in a chest and the version that where I've obtained it and how I've obtained it. And I'm also going to put these rocks in here. So I'm going to write them down and then move on to other things. Anyway, after the last clip I went ahead and wrote down the things and also did some testing. And from that I found out that I was in fact correct about the crossbow. I did enchant it in the wrong version. So if I enchanted it in an earlier version, I would have gotten a protection 5 crossbow. So I decided to just replace the protection 5 crossbow with a written book to signify that I've gotten it. And also after watching back the footage, I've noticed that I actually have a bow with protection 4. So I guess it's kind of fine that I didn't get a crossbow, but I still keep the book. And also while I'm here, I may hear some strange growling. And I'll show you why that is. That's because saplings in Infdev Plus have a very rare chance to turn into saplings instead of trees. So as a result I've got a tree end right over here. And next up I need to do some fixing around my base. This happened because there were some tall grass types which had their metadata swept. This happened because, well, their metadata wasn't the same as the metadata of grass that it grew on. But now that has been fixed, so I've gotta fix the tall grass around my base, or at least some of it. As you can see, the ones that were swept are the tall frosted grass and the tall dry grass. So I'm just gonna remove them with shears to keep them, and then I'm gonna fertilize them to get some here. Thankfully that didn't take too long, so now I'm going to just put away the things that I don't need and move on to the next thing. And now for the next thing, I'm visiting this area. That's because I got some special thing here, those being the command blocks. Now, you are probably asking yourself, how did I get these command blocks? And I'm going to explain it, and it involves some old versions because I played this world in like most of the old versions, and also the developer builds. Basically before version 0.6 there were like 255 IDs reserved for the blocks. However, as version 0.6 was being developed, it began to be clear that 255 IDs aren't enough for blocks. So it was decided that sort of more IDs should be reserved for blocks, and for that reason the item IDs also had to be moved. So basically there would now be 496 IDs for blocks, which meant that the first item ID had to be moved to ID 496. This of course would be problematic for old worlds because of the invalid ID stuff, so a converter was made which would like convert the items to their new ID, but you could of course sort of circumvent this conversion by placing these items into like chests like far away where they wouldn't be loaded. That way when a new block would get added, it would replace the item. Now, the reason why you would want to do that is because, or why I wanted to do that is because, as it turned out, one of the new blocks that were added was the command block. So I ended up getting a command block because it replaced one of the items thanks to the ID shenanigans. So if you were to play the old version like I did, you could also get some command blocks. However, you wouldn't be able to use them, unlike me. That's because, well, you can't use command blocks in survival, and the reason why I could is because, well, I played the developer builds of 1.0. Of course, having these command blocks is kind of cheaty, so I don't really use them. I only have them here to get some unobtainable items. As you can see, I've got some sort of signs on these generators. That's so that I know what does each of the command blocks give. That's because I sort of replaced them so that I would have like the future IDs as well and not just the things that were in the game at the time. So what I'm gonna do now is kind of try to see what does each command block give me, and then write it down on the sign, which reminds me that I forgot to bring some fuel for these generators, so I'm gonna quickly grab those and show what I mean. Now, as an example, there is item with the ID 4458. So if I put in the fuel and activate it, I get some sandballs. So I'm just gonna edit the sign to say sand ball. And now I'm gonna do this for all of the other command blocks. Of course, when I say all of them, I only mean those that will actually give me something. Because for example, this one doesn't give me anything, so I won't write anything there. Anyway, now that I've done all of the items, I'm just going to delete them, since I am not really supposed to have them, and then I'm gonna move on to the blocks. Thankfully the blocks were easy because the only block that was added was the soul soil. However, before I move on to the next thing, I realized that there is some more fixing that I need to do, because some of the grass on the floating islands got messed up, so I need to fix that. As you can see, for example, I got some blue grass on the purple grass, so I need to fix this as well. There we go, much better now. And as a bonus, I even got some ferns here now, which you can grow before. Also, speaking of floating islands and the Astral Dimension, I plan to visit it later on, either in this episode or in the next one, depending on how long the other things take. Next up, I would like to visit the Crimson Dimension, because I want to get something from there. However, before I go there, I would like to make a note of something, which is that the sort of darkness effect that they used to be in here is no longer here, which means that I can finally see the tunnel to the slipgate that I have properly. No, there's no more darkness, so it looks much better, I'd say. So I can also remove these torches that are here, since those are no longer necessary. And kind of don't look all that good. And the two things that I'd like to get from the Crimson Dimension are the crossbow, which is the new weapon that has been added, and the soul soil, which is a new block. The crossbow can be obtained from the graves found in a graveyard, and the soul soil appears in the soul sand biome in like newly generated chunks, so I'm gonna need to do some exploration to find those. Oh, before I start exploring, I'll have to just mention that I've been doing some work here. I don't believe I've shown it before. As you can see, I've installed some beacons, and I've also sort of dug a hole all the way to the ceiling, where you can see some gas up there. By the way, as you can see, the hole goes out all the way up to the ceiling, which means that when I go into the Crimson Dimension, I appear right here. By the way, now it's time to go exploring. I'm gonna use the green teleporter. But before that, I'm gonna install a diamond teleporter so that I can use it to get back once I'm done exploring. And it didn't take too long, and I found a graveyard in old chunks. I actually found it while trying to sort of go around the lava lake that's down below. There are actually quite a few plots. You got 2 here, 2 sort of below me, and 1 way below there, which kind of got blown up by a ghast. So I'm now gonna do some grave robbing in hopes that I find a crossbone. And after digging up all of the graves, I've managed to obtain 3 crossbones. The crossbone is basically a special crossbow, which has got 3 special properties compared to the regular crossbow. The first property is that whenever you fire, it fires 3 projectiles for 1 ammo. The second being is that it fires bones instead of sort of bolts. So if you take a look, you'll see that I've got 64 and 13 bones, and if I kill this place, and I have 62 and 13, so as you can see, it consumed these bones. And the last property, which I can't really showcase right here, is that it cannot be enchanted, unlike the regular crossbow. Anyway, that's the first thing that I wanted to obtain, so I'm now gonna do some more exploration to find a Soul Sand Valley in new chunks to get the soul soil. Also, I don't believe I've mentioned it, but the way that the hellbug trees generate has changed some time ago. They used to generate like the spooner trees, but now they generate like the crimson trees from 1.16. But anyway, the fact that we can see these new trees means that we are in new chunks, so I'm gonna continue exploring and continue going that way. And there we go, found myself a soul sand valley, so now I'm gonna dig up some of the soul soil and bring it home. Also, the way the soul soil works is basically the same as vanilla. So it only generates in the soul sand valley. It doesn't slow you down, unlike the soul sand, and when you light it on fire you get the hellfire. And with that out of the way, there are just 2 more crimson related things that I have to mention. Now, as you might remember, you can smelt items with the hellfire, and that has been buffed in one of the recent versions, because previously you could only smelt like 1 item at a time, but now you can smelt an entire stack if you throw in an entire stack. As you can see, I threw in a stack of cobblestone and got a stack of stone. And the second thing that I like to mention is that you can now grow the torchlights and not torchlight, the torch flowers. Yeah, you can see the torch flower, and if I try to fertilize the crimson grass some more, I also get a withering rose, which I can craft into coal. I was actually trying to sort of turn this mechanic into a farm to farm the withering roses and the torch flowers, but I wasn't quite successful. Anyway, with that out of the way, it is time to move on to the next things I want to cover. Seems like I was wrong about being done with the Crimson related stuff. That's because there's actually a new advancement related to the crossbow, which is to shoot a skeleton with the crossbow. So I'm gonna quickly find a skeleton and get the achievement. And there we go. Easy peasy lemon, whatever. Now it's time to move on. And next up I would like to do some fishing. That's because fishing has been overhauled in the time I haven't been playing on this world. So now the sort of loot that you can get from fishing is split into sort of two pools. You can get either some trash or some treasure. And the chances of getting some treasure increases when you've got like luck. So either by using the lucky coin or by using a luck potion, which is why I brought the lucky coin. And I'm also going to activate a beacon, the invisibility beacon, so that I don't get bothered while fishing. Because if I have the invisibility effect, then the mobs won't see me. As you can see, the zombie is right next to me, but it doesn't attack me until I attack it. And it seems like I got some diamond armor. Anyway, now it is time for me to do some fishing to see if I get anything interesting. Which reminds me that I've forgotten to say that the treasure that you can get from fishing includes some scrolls, crossbows, and even backpacks. Which also reminds me just now that I forgot to break some rotten flesh. That's because you can use it as bait to increase your odds of getting like good stuff, I think. I'd say that is enough fishing. Unfortunately, I didn't get a backpack. I guess the chance of getting it, even with the luck, is less than 1 in 100, or however like successful reels in that I get in. The only interesting things that I managed to get is a bow, some name tags, jellyfish tentacle, and some books, plus a lot of fish and some other things. But those aren't really all that impressive, so I'm gonna go home, store away those items, and move on to some other things. And now I'd like to take a look at the Damascus shield change, and for that reason I went out here so I can fight some mobs. And for that reason I first need to go away from the beacon so I don't get all of the effects. Now, the way that the Damascus shield works now is that it sort of protects you against the various types of damage that mobs and can inflict upon you. But of course with the exception of sort of explosion damage. So if I fight the skeleton here, you can see that it can hurt me. Where I should increase the difficulty to hard. As you can see, it's doing a bit more damage, but if I crouch, then the shield protects me from all the damage by absorbing it. And as you can see, it didn't protect me against the explosion. Anyway, what I was trying to say is that the damage done to the shield is equal to the damage that you have taken. And yeah, that's the shield. It's quite useful, I'd say. A lot more useful than it used to be. And next up I'm going to organize my Obsidian just a bit. That's something that I did in my hardware series, in which I took like some colored backpacks with dungeon items inside of it and like other stuff and placed it inside an Obsidian chest so that I would always have access to them. As you can see, I kinda did it to some degree, where I have a backpack with some stuff and some empty backpacks as sort of to store more stuff plus some other items, but I haven't really done it like I did on the hardcore series. I don't really know why I haven't done it before, even though I've seen like people in vanilla who had like chakra box kits inside of their enter chest. I guess I just never really felt like doing it. But anyway, I'm gonna organize it off camera since I don't feel like it'll be particularly interesting. And once I'm done, I'll show you how I decided to do it. Also, I've noticed that somehow my snowman escaped. I've decided to keep him for now, but I might kill him in the future, who knows. And after a while of organizing, I've prepared the backpacks. As you can see, it's mostly like dungeon items, so we got like ranged weapons, astral stuff, crimson stuff, things from the stronghold and desert pyramid, then from the lich castle and ocean monument, and lastly we got the nature set with some items to repair the dungeon items. I've also prepared some spare backpacks. Anyway, I might add some more backpacks in the future, but I'd say this is good enough for now. And aside from this, I would like to mention also another thing. As you can see from this backpack, I got some dark matter here. That's because I went and farmed some, and while farming I actually found a way to farm the dark matter a bit faster. That being to use a broken glacial staff, since it has got the ability to fire an infinite amount of snowballs, which I can use to anchor the stalkers. Basically, the way I do things, the way that I get things set up is that I've got some beacons, most importantly a strength beacon to kill the stalkers faster, resistance and regeneration to sort of protect me from dying, and I also have like speed and stamina so I can run around faster. Aside from those, I also use a lucky coin to get more dark matter and some spectacles to see them better. So basically, when I got these spectacles equipped, I grab the glacial staff, fire in like random direction to anchor as many stalkers as possible. And once I have enough, I just kill them. And once I've killed them, I'll just equip the magnet to pick up any dark matter that I might not have picked up. The idea behind this is of course to anchor as many stalkers as possible so that they come towards you instead of you having to come towards them. But to be careful to not anchor too many at once, since they hit quite hard when you don't have armor, when you only have like resistance and regeneration. Although now that I think about it, there is a way to avoid getting overwhelmed by the stalkers, which is to turn on the dynamic light and just hold a torch in your hand, or simply walk under a block and they won't be able to touch you. Also, I'd forgotten to mention that the reason why I chose this kind of setup to farm the dark matter is because it doesn't cost you any resources once you have things set up, because when I use the Storm Michael it gets repaired while I fight the stalkers. The glacial staff doesn't get damaged, so I can use infinite amount of projectiles. I don't have any armor, so I don't have to repair any armor. The magnet doesn't have any durability, so I don't need to repair it. Which means that the only thing that I need to repair is the lucky coin. So I'd say this is quite a fast method of farming dark matter. It's only been about 25 minutes since I've entered the void, and I've managed to get 4 and something stacks of dark matter. So I think I'll use it more in the future, whenever I need more dark matter. Also, I've been at several attempts. And that will be it for this episode and this series as a whole. And that will be it for this episode, as I believe I had done enough. However, I still haven't covered all of the things that I wanted to cover when it comes to the changes done in the recent versions. So I plan to do that in the next episode. Those changes are mainly related to like mobs and stuff. And also aside from that, I plan to do some Infdev Plus streams. That's because the next version, that being 1.0.39, introduces some, makes a lot of changes to like various blocks, like stairs, slabs, panels and such. Fix that in those streams. I don't know how many streams it will take, but I suspect that it will definitely be at least 2. So yeah, those are the plans for the future, and I'll be seeing you in the next one.